yeah, I created that little quick spreadsheet that is blank, and because I did that last night because I was like, I know we're supposed to do this and everything. I completely forgot what everything were going on, and so now, so yeah. So how do we make this work? It seems as though, well, Shiloh, you said a few good things. Like, okay, I'll just let you talk. I'm
All
just gonna mumble.
right. Well, I'm gonna bring this. Let's see. How can I do this? I can split the sheet, and we can kind of just go over the design document. Or actually, let's go over that list on the meeting agenda because that worked out pretty well. And you guys might need to pull up the. I'm not sure if it's going to be very legible at this scale because I don't have the high quality recording or the high quality screen share.
Right.
Um,
I'm in
what?
nothing. I'm in the spreadsheet too, so it's all good. But
All right.
um,
So right now the spreadsheet's blank. Here are some things that I thought were, items to talk about for the systems. It's still a mess. Like none of this really connects very well, and I'm trying to figure out a way to do that. But basically, we need to try to simplify it as much as possible. I'm assuming.
yeah,
Shay, I would imagine you're probably more experienced at this than me, so I'm glad you stuck around. Your mic's muted. If you think we.
Sorry, I don't know. I was sort of paying attention, but what do you want me to? I don't know.
I was saying you're probably way more experienced at this than me. We talked
Mm,
about it with John briefly, and he sort of gave us some thoughts at one of the Tuesday night meetings um, on how to create systems. But like, we're trying to figure out a way to balance this and make it fun and but I've never done this before, so like for goal one, we had the interaction that we were really concerned about, like interacting with the cats, using the toys and treats and everything. Um, we've got the cat mood, which is really important, and that's kind of at the top of the list in the design document. Um, like we know we want to be able to give the player feedback for what how the cat's feeling about the situation. Some of the things that we talked about were a literal meter, but I think we've leaned away from that because the less we have on the screen, the better. It's limited um, real estate, so we want to try to keep that as clean as possible.
and we could
Um,
show that in a different way.
yeah. So one way was like a constant particle effect, maybe a slight sparkle around the cat, or maybe some sort of aura around the cat when you hover over it. Another item that Leonard mentions here is the the personal object on a cat that changes color. So like Sparkle Kitty's got that jewel in its forehead. Maybe that changes color according to its mood. And
Um, with that, that would have to. I don't know if that would work because we would have need to have some kind of object for each cat to change color.
yeah, and that is something that we need to design into the cats.
I think we talked about that very briefly about possibly the gym, and also like for Smelly Cat, it could be the banana. Um, and then I feel like there are ways to change parts of
probably
these.
be a little bit more consistent. Like I don't know. I feel like if you had like a gym that changed color and a banana that changed colors, I wouldn't use the same color scheme for the two. Or I don't know. It'd be weird to have the banana go through like up.
We could have some kind of consistent shape on all cats in the same spot. But what would that be?
I mean, they can all have the jewel in their forehead. So,
Like yeah, they could all have a jewel.
Uh,
Or like a
yeah, that would
if
take
you
away.
want like a particle system aura around them, that could work for all of them, I guess. Or
Do all the cats have tails?
Yeah.
Okay. Even well, okay.
Well, I don't even know because the current cats, yeah, but
Either the end of the tails, possibly, maybe,
or a collar on all cats.
collar. I mean,
Yeah, collar might be a good idea.
can we make one collar and then we can make one collar and then put it on all the cats, possibly?
Maybe it's a
Hey,
jewel on the collar, like the little jewel at the bottom of the collar changes color.
Yeah. How easy could you? Well, I guess we need to make sure that it's easy to see from our sort of bird's eye view, looking down at the cat.
Yeah, maybe the collar all the way around changing color would be better. But like Smelly Cat's got a hat on, so it might be a little difficult unless you kind of like lean over or something. But
Exactly.
but
So
if
it
they
has to
know if they know that it's a collar, then they'll look for it. If that's a consistent thing.
Yeah.
And then, how does the player know what colors mean good and what colors mean bad?
Because okay, so that goes with this is just the mood meter. But reactions. So animations for positive, negative reactions to different interaction. Cat relocates according to mood. Cat starts halfway between the tower and the player, generally speaking, and starts at green essentially, which is right in colors change. Start at G. He starts halfway between the player and the tower, moves away after a number of negative reactions, moves closer after a number of positive reactions. And then we wanted particle effects when a positive reaction happened and a negative reaction. And it could just be, we talked about like a particle effect that happens whenever we do something positive that, you know, is in the color that the current cat's mood is in to reinforce that color. So that players know where the cat is. Like if a red one goes up, then players know that the cat's getting pretty ticked off. But they also will see the cat walk away from them. So there's two ways that we can communicate with the player through feedback.
Okay, so the color would change. Whoa, the color would change colors, and we would have some kind of particle effect to announce the change between colors.
Yeah.
So you're talking about a system that shows a. You're talking about a system that shows a change in reaction, or yeah.
So this is the cat's mood. This is the mood system.
Right.
So I'm going to just put mood system on here because I'm pretty sure
Okay.
that that's going to be one of the systems that we need.
Yeah.
Once we have the colors we want, I can start thinking through sketches of how these particle effects would look like.
Okay, so we thought we would work with Roji Biv. Red being negative, violet or more like a fuchsia color being positive. Can you see the screen?
Yeah.
So that end of the spectrum is the positive, so we get into the cooler colors, and as we get to the warmer colors, those are the negative.
Okay. We do probably want to narrow it down though to.
This is basically 7 colors.
7.
Do we want it? So you want to do this? You're talking about not doing the whole 7?
I think 7 colors is fine.
Okay.
Because that gives you, if you start at green, that gives you 3 levels of positive that you can go through. And if you,
Yeah, you're right.
and it gives you 3 levels of negative to go through. So it gives you a center, and you have 3 chances or 6 chances or however many, and that's part of the system, like the interaction system, which talks about, like, mood is the maybe isn't even the system. Maybe mood is just the result of the system, right? That's what we're gaining from the system.
So green is neutral.
Yeah, green is neutral.
Okay, that makes sense. I understand that.
So yeah,
Um,
red, orange, and yellow are going to be the negative. Blue, blue, like an aqua blue, it'd probably be the first blue, and then a true blue, and then violet, because indigo is so close to purple, and the violet's probably going to be more like a magenta, because people just don't see violet very well.
oh shit!
Did you get a kitty attack?
I'm gonna do some color swatches just to see what they look like.
Okay. Does that make sense,
Yeah.
Zach?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm wondering if we will. Yeah, I guess 7 is good for now. Yeah.
Yeah, since you start in the middle, it's not starting at the bottom and working your way up. You're starting in the middle, so you've only got 3 on each side to move in. I think that works. And we might find that it, we just want red, green, and blue later, but I think one step is kind of extreme. And I don't know what the colors would be otherwise, so. All right, so yeah, mood is at the top of the list. I don't know if we want to do this in the order that we listed on the meeting minutes, or if we want to just go down the design document. What do you guys work better with?
I'm sorry. I would say that we go through and use the meeting minutes because it seems like it's more focused for the time being and everything. So we just cut down to those really really solid and be like, okay, mood, cat level, all that stuff.
Okay,
I think
so the mood is more the result. That is basically the score of the cat at the moment. Does that make sense?
Yes.
We can kind of think of this as a cat score, but we're calling it mood. So to get the mood, things that affect that are interactions, right? So
and maybe okay, and other things, not just interactions.
Right, like
The
the stuff that's present in the scene as well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm just gonna start with interactions affect it. Scene affects it.
Shay, your thing's still on. Your mic's still on.
Yeah. Not like picking up stuff.
It just did.
Picking up my headphones.
Okay. I got distracted. Sorry. So mood is what we're going for. Affected by interaction. So interactions include playing with toys, right? Well, okay. I'm trying to wrap my brain around this. So
Yeah. You're fine.
I've never done this before, so I don't have a good method for like isolating it.
Well, okay. So you have, let's see.
So we have the reaction is just what we see. That reads the mood. Animations also read the mood. So in order for the cat to play the right animation, the mood probably also has a number that, or whatever. I don't know how Shay would want to do it, but programming wise, you'd probably have to have a value, and if the value is in a certain range, it's green. If it's in a certain range, it's yellow, and within that range, we have, the reaction adds to or subtracts from that. And when a animal plays an animation, it may or may not be a special animation. If it is a special animation, then it needs to read the mood in order to play the correct animation. So your animations will also be dependent on mood, possibly.
Yeah, I mean, everything seems to be dependent upon the idea that you will be changing.
So I'm going to put things that are dependent on the mood here. No, that doesn't even make sense. Maybe having a spreadsheet's a bad idea to start with.
No,
Like I can't brainstorm on here because it's like these are values. I can't do anything with this. I'm gonna start a document. Sorry.
Okay. But the idea of spreadsheets is to like be able to do math and figure out.
Yeah, we need to get to that eventually, but let's just start a document.
No, but if we're just generally going over all the systems, everyone uses a spreadsheet.
Right.
You'd maybe use a spreadsheet like if you got into like very specifics about like.
Yeah, it's not helping to solve the problem at the moment. So.
Okay, gotcha. So okay, let it flow, Charlotte.
Sorry. I'm like,
No,
I
you're
can't
good.
do this. I feel stuck. It's a box. So mood is affected by and effects. So those are the two things that we need to be concerned about. Mood is just the number that it refers to. It is affected by interactions. It's affected by, what else did we have on here? The scene, right? It's affected by the items.
Item condition.
I will put that as a sub to items.
Okay. And also scenes condition item placement.
Huh?
Also, I'm sorry. I was continuing. Sorry.
So
about
you're
that.
looking at the here.
Oh yeah.
So yeah. I'm gonna call this
Where is it?
so all right. That's a good point. Okay. Does the cat's level affect how their mood changes, or is that does that do anything?
No, I don't think so because I feel like
What could a cat level or a player level do to like, is it for crafting only?
I was. Let me
See,
think.
for the
So
player, that makes sense. You can make more complex things if you level up.
Exactly.
That's what I was thinking. I'm on my
Hey,
phone right
whoa!
now. Yeah.
Welcome!
Hey.
Okay,
Cut it out.
so player level, if any, for crafting. I'm just gonna copy this whole thing in here. How's that?
I thought about that for a second too. I was like, this might be easier if we did that.
Yeah.
Then you can just get rid of it.
Yeah. Okay.
And then we can just work on from there.
Okay. So, sorry, I'm slow sometimes. Don't mind me.
No. We got this. This is all learning process, Charlotte. We're all
Yeah.
learning.
I mean, I'm literally, I probably could do some research and find a better way to do this, but hey, sometimes the more thorough way to learn is the hard way, right? Make mistakes.
Yes.
All right. So for crafting only, really, that affects crafting. What would a cat level affect?
My thing is that cat level will affect the amount of like the materials and everything that will bring to you.
So,
So
Yeah, I agree with Leo on that one.
yeah, I,
what about
Like-
difficulty getting?
yeah, because if you want to get the best items, you should be able to. Your cat should be able to get higher enough level to be able to get like the better items, so you can actually craft better things. So
Okay,
it's like
Right.
so if you get higher level cats, they're harder to get, but they give you better materials. And in order to get them, you have a higher chance if you are a higher level.
Right.
there
So
you
they-
go.
And so with also not only the a high level cat bringing you higher level items, but maybe it brings you a lot more of the lower level items.
So a lot of times with things like MMOs, as you level through different stages of the game, lower level items become less available because they're less less useful, because you're trying for the higher items at that point. You've leveled up to the point where you don't need them as often anymore.
That's a good point.
So it makes it so the higher level items appear more often. The thing that makes that possible, though, because sometimes you still need those lower level items, is one, in MMOs you can revisit those regions if you need to get the lower level items, or you can use a shop, and we have neither of those things. So if So they might bring you more items, and you have a higher probability of getting a higher level item.
I would
But-
think you'd have like, yeah, I think you'd have like stuff like when they bring you items, it'd be you'd get a lot of low level items and occasionally get higher level items.
Yeah. And the higher the cat level, the higher your probability for higher level items.
Well, right now,
And the more they
at
bring you.
least with the ideas that we think about the cats and whatnot,
What?
the cats don't actually not they won't always stay in the pen, right?
Right. Well, that's part of goal, or part of the list down here. Where is it? I know you're on the phone, so you can't really see what we're talking about.
Yeah.
So down the list, we start to talk about how many cats fit in the scene. How do we determine which cats? Do they time out automatically? Because magnetism
Well-
might not be the only reason they're in the scene. They might be, like, they might just time out. Because otherwise, you don't get a lot of variety if you just keep the same cats in the scene. I think that this is
Right.
more about probabilities, maybe, than just like, okay, if it's in this range, they stay there. They
Yeah,
they just have
well-
a higher probability of staying there, if that's what you're
Yeah, like a
intending.
strategy could be, at least for the players, maybe a mechanic that we add in is that the higher level cats need more item requirements to be, to be placed in the pin for them
Oh,
to
I see what
be
you're saying.
to appear.
Yeah, so that plays into the difficulty, and I'll put a parentheses there.
Right,
more
and so
complex
once that
combos.
cat leaves, well, you need to attract some of the other lower level cats so that you can get the amount of items that you need in order to attract the higher level cats.
Yeah.
So that way, the lower level cats at that point don't become irrelevant. As you progress, like as your level increases and you starting to acquire a lot more higher level cats.
So this could introduce a system where you have types, maybe.
Oh boy.
Because what you're saying is that is basically like lower level cats bring you certain things, and it's a good thought actually. I don't know how complex it is, because I don't know how complex any of this is.
Well,
It's not that hard. Like each cat would just have a list of things it can bring you,
Mm-hmm.
and like a list of probability, like a probability for each one.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So
Yeah,
so
so
the concept is that maybe there are water type cats that like fish a whole lot, and it really plays towards the like the fish or the aquatic theme that you guys are starting to have with the fish bowl and the fish mailbox, and maybe there's like a coral reef tower, like what Zach was saying at one point. There are themes. If the scene has a theme, maybe there are cats that go particularly well with those themes, and they
Right.
bring you themed
Yeah.
items.
So okay, so here's a thought. So we go down this path of types and everything. Yeah, this adds a part of complexity that this adds maybe a little bit of complexity, but I think it actually might help in like balancing as well,
I
because we
think so
know
too. I think it
exactly
make
which cat
yeah.
exactly which items will be taken by each cat, and then also you can also attach it to exactly which type of world and the area you'll be creating yourself.
Yeah, so
So
it brings a level of strategy into the game, which is what we were struggling with a little bit in goal 3.
yeah,
Maintaining
Right.
cats to farm rewards, providing enough of what they all like. But
Right.
why would they do this? And how would they do this? How would they know, oh, I need this combination? Well, if you have the perfect aquatic theme, you're going to attract more aquatic cats, and they're going to
Right.
bring you more aquatic items. And so that's going to help you know, and that the player know, okay, this is what we need to do in order to gain more of those items so that we can create these items. And those items,
Now,
those crafting items that they bring you might not necessarily just go with aquatic themed items. They might be
right. That's what I was getting
yeah.
ready to suggest is that if we do certain themes, and each theme has a normal cat and then like a super rare cat, or however you do your cats,
Yeah.
the items that they give you, a majority of them would be aquatic themed, but maybe one item wouldn't be. Or as you progress your level or the cat's level, the rewards that you get, or like the achievements that you get in the mail, should be more universal. So that way, the items that you're getting don't just apply to that one particular theme, but can be used to acquire the base level of the other themes.
Mhm.
so in other words, you're talking about making sure that gameplay is the same for each type of cat. Like we have to make sure that no matter what, they'll be getting something that's similar to the other types and materials and items, even though they are different types. Is that correct?
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, because without that, then you're only once you unlock one type, the player is, I would say, 90% more than likely going to acquire as far as he can of that one type.
Exactly.
But if we have a item and there's the description, or he has a recipe, he gets a recipe to unlock a cat of another type. Well, then how is he going to get how's the player going to get the items needed to attract that other cat if all the items that they are given are for the water theme?
Right.
So we'd have to balance it out with either the achievements that they get, that gives them the base level items to attract the first cat of the other themes, or we also do that and then have it so that the one type theme cat will give you an one item, maybe like on a low probability, but you still get an item of another type, so that way you're never stuck in one type without ever being able to explore the other types of cats.
I
Okay.
feel you.
So here's what I'm hearing. You have leveled cats with the higher the level, the more the probability they'll give you what you need for something new, perhaps? Is that like
Well, not only new, but also like
higher level?
rare or
Yeah.
and high level,
Right.
like that. Yeah.
Like-
So those are two different things. You have rare items and you have high level items.
I would say that. Um, oh boy. So what?
Well,
It all depends on what. It all depends
Or
on.
no, new items. Sorry, rare
Right.
items and new items. Sorry.
Yeah.
yeah,
So,
maybe keep it so that it's just the newer items are maybe an increase in rarity and not like a separate thing altogether. Like you have common, uncommon, rare, legendary, like in most MMOs,
Mhm.
but have it so that the uncommon items are needed to attract the next level or next level and rarity of the cats.
I would. Okay. So that. Okay. So
Okay, so
that's.
you're combining these two to basically mean that the level is equivalent to rareness.
Yes. That way, if we do, I think if we do it like that, these two different, I guess, class systems
Yeah.
are more dynamic and better flow together instead of being two separate things. Because then we'd have to figure out, okay, what are all the possible combinations of these items, and that would have to include the item themselves, how many items, and the rarity of those items, and then how do we take all of that and then figure out, okay, how much is that is needed to acquire these super rare cats, the rare ones, the ones that are pretty common, and that will be a mess.
Yeah. So we have item level basically. And
Right.
so the cat level determines probability for item level.
Right.
So the higher the
And
cat level, the higher the probability for a higher item level.
Yeah.
yes,
Okay.
so
That
that
makes
that
sense.
way you have an uncommon item, maybe two uncommon items, and a regular item can be used to attract an uncommon cat.
Oh boy.
But either way, just keep it so that an uh, the items level is used to attract that same level of cat.
And this
Yeah.
is maybe should be well item level and material level because materials are a separate item from.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
All in all, what
Yeah.
I'm trying to say is that we need to have the material and item I guess level to be equal to the cats.
Yeah.
So that way when we try to figure out what attracts what, it doesn't get too complicated.
Yeah.
Is what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah. Okay. So everything's got a score, but it's all the same thing. Nothing has like multiple types of scores
No.
essentially.
Everything has a score, and I think we can figure out a way to balance it so we don't have that many numbers
Yeah.
parts.
Well, okay. So you have currently we have a cat level, we have an item level, we have material levels, and we have player levels. We'll probably have to have a scene level too, which is for scene items, like
Yeah.
the tower.
Yeah. Exactly.
So here, let me put that in here. Player level, scene
But do we
level.
need levels for everything?
Yeah. Essentially, if
Would we?
and that's
Do we? Yeah. That's
well
my
that because it
Well,
drives itself. You know you're crafting these scenes, right? The towers. So
Yeah.
you need higher level materials for the higher level scenes. You need to attract higher level cats to get the material for the higher level items. The player needs to be a higher
well, would you
level.
necessarily need a scene level? Because each
You mean our
like if there's a
towers?
tower of, well, like the towers determine how many cats you can have in the scene, right?
I don't know.
I don't think no. That's well.
I
Okay.
think the player
Well
level
then,
determines how many cats would be.
okay. So then the tower, and if the tower has a level, and then uh if we do at least in the longs of themes, if you have like a coral tower that's maxed out, let's say level 3, and then there's a mailbox that's maxed out at level 3,
The
then
mailbox
that,
doesn't level up.
okay, so then why would we need a scene level?
Do you upgrade the scene?
As far as I know of, no. We're just
You just build items for the scene.
right.
So those items for the scene are scene items and not toys. So basically, I suppose that they could be considered items if we're condensing everything into one. Okay, so here's a thing. We probably don't need levels on everything, just the things that we are like that materials and cats apply to, right? Is that right? Like,
Yeah,
so we create items with the materials, so they're gonna have to
right.
level. The materials are gonna have a level, and the cats are gonna have to have a level. But the scene itself
Yeah.
doesn't have to have a level if if the things that we are creating are items that we place in the scene. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
What do you mean the
To the
materials have levels? You mean I was
the level
thinking
is just a
you would
background thing.
you craft leveled up items with maybe more of the materials, but the materials themselves wouldn't have levels.
But level just means rarity.
Okay.
Yeah. So
But still,
you have to have a
okay.
number attached to it. So are you saying that this is the thing, and maybe we have stacking items, but that goes into like it, because I see what you're saying, Zach. Instead of having more complex materials or adding materials to the list of materials, you're saying you just use more of them.
I mean, I like the idea of having like
So instead of the rarity
a
being
rare, we have a rare item that requires another material, but
so there
the materials by themselves don't have separate um, types or levels. I think that's what you're saying.
the materials themselves, you don't see a level. This is just for programming purposes for the system.
Okay.
So on the player side, they don't know that something necessarily is more rare unless we want them to. Maybe at a certain level it's a gold item, or if we wanted to do that eventually we could. But this is just so that we can keep things like when you're a lower level person or player, you're not going to get the more like the basically it's just a sequencing thing. Sorry, I couldn't say that through my nose. And you're basically just keeping a player playing within a certain level to start, so they aren't like getting something that is outside of the theme that they're in currently. But as they play more, they start to get items that encourage them to explore the next theme.
Right.
And
They start off with the basic materials,
and then
craft
Right.
the normal items, but then they start getting, I guess, start attracting the cats and getting the more rare materials. But you'll still need, like, I guess, more to craft the rare material. I mean, craft the rare items.
Right. You're gonna need to have a lot more items or materials to craft the
I don't think the
more
number of
rare
items
stuff.
is a good idea. I don't think it's a good idea to increase the number because think about what happens 10 levels in.
Only to a certain point. Like the basic items might have like sort of like what we have in there now. Like the very basic item has like water, like kibble is like water and flour, and then a more advanced one is like water, flour, and tuna.
Right.
Like you sort of
Yeah.
start adding like the very beginning ones are like very basic items only, and then
Yeah.
later ones add. But then like you don't keep adding them. Initially, towards the beginning, there's maybe a little bit of like adding number of things, but you don't keep just continuously adding.
Because
Right,
it can
right.
get out of hand very quickly. The beauty of leveling is that we can continue to add levels if we want to keep adding to the game. So it's very scalable.
So then I guess if we do go about levels, then how do we? So that would mean that the cat brings like if I have a cardboard, but it's level 3, or a rarer, more sturdier cardboard, then that means that if I need to make a tower that is larger and requires, then I'd be able to use the cardboard to build a better tower or something like that.
Wait, I'm sort of against that idea. That's sort of what I was saying, like having cardboard have like multiple strengths of cardboard, you mean? Is that what you're saying?
I'm going off
Multiple.
of an example, trying to figure out what Shiloh is getting at.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to put. So I'm talking more like level 1 items, right? So let's think of this as in terms of themes. Like theme 1. Let's not worry about what the items are. Theme 1 is basically level 1. So theme 1 items would be, maybe there's 10 items as far as toys and treats, and then you have your tower for this theme. And then we have materials that go into those items. Those are all level 1 items that go into making that. And then you start getting themed items for the next theme. And those would be slightly different. Like, we have the cardboard theme. So it's a super simple cardboard tower and simple toys. And then we move to the aquatic theme. And we start getting materials that encourage us to craft things for the aquatic theme. Those are going to be more rare while we're in the cardboard theme. But level is just it's a name for rarity, and it's another term for like the theme. So it's like if we're gonna do everything themed around the cardboard and the simple stuff, that would be level 1, and it would be less rare than items for level 2. But as you play in level 1, the player starts leveling up, and as the player levels up, the probability for level 2 items increase, so that they start to get encouraged to build things for level 2. Does that make sense?
Yeah, you said items. You mean like item as in mouse, not a material crafting item.
So they get materials, yeah, to craft those items.
Yeah, the item has the level, not the material.
Well,
So
the material does too, because it's themed in that area. You're going to get different materials for level 2. So for level 1, it's going to be cardboard themed, right? You're going to get string, you're going to get cardboard, maybe glue, maybe stickers, super simple stuff. And then
So then,
like for the
going off
aquatic
of that,
theme,
so level 2 overall would be based on water. That would mean that the next level of cats that you get would be, or more so water themed. And
correct.
then after that, the next level after that would be fire level. That would be level 3. Then level 5 would be avatar. We'll go with wind. So with that, that means that all the toys, as they reach level 2, which is theme water, would be based around water.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you reach level 3, all the toys and stuff would be themed around fire.
Correct.
Okay. I thought the player was going to have a choice and they could branch, like
Yeah.
Eevee.
Yeah.
Like Eevee is cardboard, and you can choose to go to be Vaporeon, Jolteon, and all of that.
Okay.
That's what I considered as well, because I want to give them a choice to be able to get exactly which type of like area and what type of catch you actually want to go for. And so the idea is that
How would you do that?
you would have to have a base.
It's like how you craft those. Like, so you'd have different things attract different types of cats. And it's like getting those materials, like there'd probably be like a rare thing that is what sort of pushes you in a certain sort of specific direction. So like those rare items, you'd like randomly get. There wouldn't be like a order in which you get those rare items, or be like some randomness to when you get them, and then you can maybe even like not use the first one you get and keep playing, and you get a different type of rare item, and then you can use that instead, and you pick which type of thing you want to make to attract what kind of cat you want.
So it's other words, they're given control of exactly like which type they actually want to go for, which goes along with the EV type thinking that David was talking about.
And I don't know if
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of earlier.
I don't know if how much we'd like make it clear ahead of time how all this works.
I would say to handle that is
Like
before we offer them the new theme, like if they want to go the Vaporeon route, we introduce to them it'd be based on what cat they get. So if they get a cat that's more, let's say, blue and it's themed more so towards water, then when they take a picture of it, we'll get a notification pops up or something says, "Hey, this is a new cat that is themed that is a water cat," and
We're
you
trying to
then
stay
get
away
an
from
item.
text. We don't want to give them
What?
text. We don't want to use text.
Oh.
Remember,
No, well,
for
they
language
take
purposes.
the picture of the cat and that
Okay.
stores it. And that introduces, and with that, they get an achievement. And through the achievement, they realize that, oh, no, this is a new type of cat that's completely different than what I have. And the item that we should give them an item that is water themed, that is easily combinable with some of the basic stuff that they already have. And that way, they then are able to unlock other stuff in that theme as they begin to interact with the new cat.
I thought, so to me, the items were driving what cat you get.
Yeah.
So you'd randomly find some water type items, and then you could use that to attract the water type cat. It sounds like sort of the other way around.
Well, yeah, but it'd be, I guess, how we would give them that item, though, unless they have to have the fishbowl in the scene, in their pin, and that then attracts, like the fishbowl is in the scene for like, I don't know, 3 hours or so, however long, that then attracts the water cat. And then maybe have the fishbowl as a key component to have in the scene to attract the water cats and get water themed items.
Okay, so there's a couple of ideas that's going on, I guess. It's the idea of an item being in your area that will attract the certain type of cats. Does that seem like the synopsis of this whole situation?
Well, that's what all the
Yes.
items are.
Yeah. So, okay, so yeah. So the idea is now, so I guess Shiloh, your question was like, how do we do this? I think
Because it sounds very chaotic and
it does sound very chaotic,
and very difficult for players to understand the system. And that's all I'm trying to get around. It's like, okay, so how much of this do we make apparent? Because like Neko Atsume is completely chaotic. I don't know
Yeah.
if you've played it, and it's fun.
Mhm.
If that's the direction you want to go, that's fine. The levels are still necessary, but in a different way.
Yeah. The levels are necessary for like maybe
it's more like types.
mhm.
But you still go through, like, you're gonna have levels of probability that you're gonna go through. I'm just trying to find a way to propel the player to move forward. But discovery is one way to do that. So if a chaotic discovery is what you guys are going for, we can play test that, right? and we
Yeah.
can play test a more organized version. That's kind of what I'm seeing here, maybe.
Yes. So I think I agree with that. We can play test the idea of a chaotic type of discovery of finding out
Mhm.
items that are being found to attract certain cats. So we can go down that path and discovery
Yeah.
of with the idea of like you find a water stone and then you get a Vaporeon, all that type of thinking that you pretty much have. Also, I gotta say this creates a possible lore idea, like a possible storyline and everything as well, to say that you are trying to discover these types of cats and you're deciding that you're actually going down this path for these types. And so it might actually give us a lot more way of being creative, designing many more cats, and just making it feel like I guess like I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. Like I feel like we're going RPG a little bit with
No,
this.
we're not.
No, I
No.
mean, or maybe I'm wrong.
Right now, you just have a chaotic discovery system.
Yeah, discovery system. Okay, okay, okay.
Unless
wanna
I'm
be the
misunderstanding what your
very
guys are
best.
saying, but
No
like,
one ever was.
what?
He told the Pokemon
To
thing.
catch 'em all is my real test. To train them is my cause.
We're not training them though. We're actually just trying to catch them, I guess. But
Yep,
yeah,
catch 'em
I
all. But yeah,
catch 'em all. Just a certain type, actually, only two.
right,
So
right. It's what Pokey Snap. I don't know because of the pictures.
well, we can talk about the pictures and everything. I think that's a whole that's one piece we can talk about. But I feel like so Shiloh, I got to actually ask about this question. What was the other or you talked about there was a chaotic way but the organized way. What was the organized way in which you were talking about? I'm just curious.
Okay, so themes. That's really the organized system where you can introduce themes.
Okay.
What you guys are talking about, I actually don't understand what you're talking about. It sounds very chaotic to me.
Okay, okay,
Where
okay.
you're just I'm not exactly sure what the system is around what you're talking about. And I think this might be why I've been having a hard time wrapping my brain around it because I'm not sure exactly where everybody wants to go with this.
Right.
And I think everybody's got a little bit of different idea of what they think the game should be, and that's
Yeah.
great because that's how you find new and interesting ideas.
Exactly.
But
Right.
I just need to find a way to like wrap my brain around what you're talking about. The organized way is just basically based on levels, and you can do a linear format or you can do a. I mean, I'm guessing that in the same way that you can like you have tiers instead of just levels, and then on the it's not linear, then it just grows out from the center. So on tier 2 you can either go water, fire, earth, air, right? You got
Right.
the four elements. So
Yeah.
those are the four elements, and you can get materials for each of those type and unlock that tier. And then maybe on the outside of that, then you start to explore things like the 12 months. Maybe there's one for each month, or for each of the astrological signs, or something like that. Like you can find another theme for the next tier that is larger, and there are more animals or more cats. Or maybe it's just another 4 in the next tier. It doesn't have to be more.
Yeah, it could just be another 4.
It could just be another.
You don't have to necessarily get, like, you could maybe get, so you have a tier system like that, you can maybe, like, you start getting, if you get one cat in a tier, then maybe they start getting you items for the next tier, and you don't necessarily have to get, like, all 4 in one tier to move on to the next tier.
Exactly. So
That's
you can
where
kind
the whole, like, branching choice stuff comes in. But you
Okay.
can't, like, if you're on tier 1, you can't just get a tier 10 thing.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So
So
you're still organized, but it's not just a completely chaotic like random thing.
No, well,
um,
I don't think we were trying to get at it being
Okay.
random. But I think we were trying to explain the idea just more so in a example of what it would be, of how like it would get started. But no, like there'd be different tiers, or no, like you said, tier 1 of, but start off with the different types. and how those types are introduced to the player. I think that's what we were really trying to get at, is how does this start?
Yeah,
So how do you
that's
get to tier 2?
yeah. How do you get a tier 2 and everything? I think that's what we were working on because it sounds very similar to exactly what
Okay.
you said and everything.
So
So
I'm just trying to like find a way to organize in my head
gotcha.
what you're talking about. So
Right.
we're talking about a branching system, and like Shay said, and the tiers are a way to do that. So you don't have to get everything on one tier in order to move to the next, and you can get them in any order on each tier, right? Is that what I'm
Right,
getting?
and that
Okay.
allows the player to, if they want to, they can focus on one type to get it up all the way to whatever the max tier is. But the items that they receive aren't going to all be items for that one type. They'll
Let's
still
quick.
get other items or materials so they can go into the other types there, at whatever tier they're at, without being solely focused on this one.
Right.
Yes. So okay, that sounds good. Let's make it clarity about like materials and items, making sure there's a differences between those two.
Yeah,
Because
we have
it can get
definitions for
confusing.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
Um,
okay.
that's cool.
Let's see here. So you're talking, I'm just trying to make sure that our definitions match what we're talking about. So we have
Exactly.
items, um, and then crafting materials. And then we have, so there are materials and ingredients, but we can call those crafting. Um, here I separated them because those would probably be two different. Like you wouldn't put a cardboard box in the treat. So I figured that you would probably have different lists for those, which is kind of brings up the whole. We had talked about that book. Where did you put that? It goes in here somewhere.
Kitties of Legend book that each player has. It's on the right side.
There.
Yes, the Cats of Legend, Kitties of Legend. And so
Yeah.
with that, that book would be like it would kind of be the in-game object of a menu to get rid of the UI. So in it, you'd be able to see all the toys that you have, all the ingredients, all of the uh, materials that you have would all be there as separate scrollable pages. And then there would also be a section for the cats that that the player has brought into their level. So when a new cat comes in, they're able to take a picture of it, or somehow the cat is recorded in the book. And under that cat would be, I guess, all the stuff that they use to attract that cat.
I would recommend automatic recognition. I guess I don't know if that's a word. But the thing is that it will allow the player not to have to worry about taking pictures in order to be put into the inventory, and so it will take away that like possibility of the cats exiting before they get a chance to take a picture.
Okay, so then would we have to record? So if it's automatic, then I guess I have to see what items or whatever the player used to attract that cat and then record it,
Well,
right? Or do we want to do that?
I don't know if we want to do that and stuff like that. I don't think we want to have a bunch of. I mean, I'm sorry, Charlie, stop talking. I hope you're okay. But so the thing is that the Kitties of Legend needs to just be a way of keeping check of exactly the cats, the items that you collected, and the materials you collected, and those simple pieces, if I understand correctly.
So this kind of falls under what I was talking about under goal 3. How can
Yeah.
players effectively map the best way to maintain their farm? Like, what do we track for them, and what is up to them to just remember or discover in the background?
Well,
What do players gain? Well, sorry, that's something else. But what do we track for them? and that comes the book of kitties, whatever, the
Yeah,
the
Book of Kitties and
grimoire.
Legend. Um, so well, Shay mentioned that you might want to do pictures. It just all depends exactly. I feel like that's a scope question of exactly do we want to create it? There's not. It's already working in there. Never mind then. So we'll have that in there.
What is it?
Cool.
It You take a picture associated with the cat and everything, so that's fine. My
So
apologies.
then, can we store that image? Is that stored in the player's like actual phone gallery, or is it stored in the game itself?
It's stored.
Stored in the game's save location. We could easily put it in the gallery. We talked about that. Maybe saving it in your gallery so people can easily just see it outside of the game. Currently, like there's a cat album that like you can look at all the pictures you took in the game.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, okay. If it already exists, then I just say go along with that. Then,
Man, I said already just keep it in the game.
yeah, exactly.
We talked about right now. It only saved one picture for each cat. We're talking about improving that, but that's shouldn't be that big of a thing.
Well,
I
I
think that
guess
if players want to interact with their cats that they are working so hard to bring into their scene, like if they got a really rare cat and they wanted to post it on Facebook, how would they do that?
Oh, that gets into adding the Facebook,
well
like
then
sharing
Or
system,
adding it to your
the
gallery.
sharing system and everything to be able to share to like Twitter, Facebook, and everything. So that's a whole different thing that we
Or
have.
just
yeah,
or
but
just saving it to your camera roll.
Yeah, if you save it to your
Yeah.
camera roll,
So
then
when
you can
use the
share
app
it.
on your phone, then
could you save it to both?
Yeah, you could save it, or I mean, you don't really need to save it. Like if you want to view it in game, we can save that anywhere, and the game knows where to find it.
Yeah, it's got a
Oh,
link.
okay.
The only concern would be if you put it somewhere that it's easy for users to find, they might move
Delete it. Yeah.
or something.
Yeah. Well, couldn't we just then save it twice, one to the actual camera roll, and then in the in-game thing?
So I think that for the grimoire or the book, whatever image you are selecting for the cat would be saved in the game settings because
Okay.
that's required for the book. But
Yeah.
but pictures that you want to take just of your cat can go to
The camera roll.
the camera
Right.
roll.
Yeah. I like that. I like that.
So
Yeah, I like that as well.
you could go into the cat in the grimoire and select your cat and select the picture that you want to use for the cat if you want to change the default. Because we might have a default that pops up for each cat, but if you want to change it, you can do that, and then it'll overwrite the one in the game folder.
Yeah. I like the default. Maybe either like I don't know, like an idle, like it's idle, like its base if it's sitting down, or like just its face. So you can find like, hey, this is the cat that you just got.
Yeah. I think that we should put a default in there, and if they want to save a different picture, that they have the option to do so.
Yeah, there's the idea of like having certain tabs on the book that will be able to show the different places. So you could
Right.
have a one that shows a dictionary, like no, it's not a dictionary. The oh god, just shows all the information about the cats you've already seen. But then also you can have like other photos, and you can have in the like the last tab be like other photos that you
Right.
captured.
Right.
as
I like
well.
that.
So
That idea.
yeah, that could be a way of separating those two to make sure they don't get them
Yeah.
together.
Right. Because I feel like if a player has, tried a bunch of combinations and this one combination worked, I still feel like that should be recorded. Would that be put in like the the section that is has info on that cat, or would that info kind of be like lore?
So we have a suggestion that we track combinations, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, that's what it
Yes.
sounds like from what he just suggested.
So I think what we can do is for each cat have their favorite combination if you find it.
Right.
So if you find their favorite combination, or their 3 favorite items, or 4 favorite items, or whatever, then it'll list their favorite items, their favorite toy, their favorite treat, and their favorite theme. Um, that might be something that we can track.
Right. And
Um,
maybe if we do that, maybe have like the silhouette of that item, of those items next to the cat. So if the player uses one of those items, it then appears next to the cat instead of the silhouette.
The silhouette of the item might give it away.
yeah, I think
Mm,
just an icon, like a question mark for the undiscovered items would be fine.
okay,
Yeah, like a
but then
basic ball with a question mark, maybe.
yeah, but then still show an item if they did use it and it is a favorite.
If it attracts that cat. I don't think it
Right.
should just pop in there if they didn't succeed
No,
in attracting the cat, because
no, I
that
don't
would give
think
it
that
away.
should be there.
Yeah. But if it
But like,
successfully attracts the cat, then and the cat visits the scene, then anything that is a favorite item, yeah, definitely save that.
yes,
I like this
I
idea
like that.
though. I like, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
It's important
that's
to
what I'm
learn
getting.
about these cats and figure out who they are.
Exactly, and it adds to the idea of like lore, like the figuring out exactly why you're doing this in the first place. I mean, you're trying to attract all these cats, but you're trying to find out who they are and what makes them tick. Honestly, I think that
Right,
allows you for a bigger, like a better way of connecting with them as these virtual cats that you were trying to collect.
right.
So it all goes back to the idea of just making sure that we're basing this on exactly of interaction being the key goal. That no matter what we're doing, our goal is to interact and to find out information and to learn.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I really wish we recorded this.
I did.
Are you recording it?
Yeah, I'm not streaming it, but I'm recording it.
Awesome, Shiloh.
Nice,
Come-
nice,
Good
nice.
job.
Yeah, that's
Awesome.
why I'm not taking notes like a crazy person, because
I know. I was like,
I'm
wait a
like,
second. Is we not like writing this down? I mean, this is incredible.
Woo,
Oh my god!
contribution.
I want to create the book right now. I like want to go in the like I mean I want to make the book, but no, we'll leave it to the modelers. I'm sorry, I forgot my role.
hey,
I am not a model. I'm not the modeler. All right.
Oh, and Zach posted something in the discussion for cat mood color spectrum. Yeah, that's perfect, Zach.
It's better just to have the colors on their own
Yeah, it is.
for us to look
That
at.
helps a lot.
And
That's
looking at them, we'll need to decide if each one has a specific mood, name, or if we even need to have a specific mood name.
Yeah.
Just let the cat animation and the color
Yeah,
and the
the
particle
less
effect.
names for things we have, the better. The more we can iconize, is that a word? I don't know. Make things into icons and like graphic. I think the better off we'll be,
Right.
because then it's open to anybody. Kids that can't read yet can play. They don't have to understand anything by text. People in other countries can play it. It's just a lot more accessible that way.
I'll post this in Design and Art as well.
I'll
Because
Perfect.
this chat probably disappeared.
The chat doesn't disappear actually, but yeah,
Oh.
post it in the design document if you don't mind.
In the design doc? Okay.
Yeah.
Where at? Would you like?
You can take the place of that graphic that I've got,
Okay.
the mood graphic, if you want to post it there under mood.
Yep.
Okay, so I'm gonna get rid of literal meter on UI because we're not gonna do that. Do we want a constant particle effect for the mood?
No, I worry about
No.
That's
constant
gonna be
particle
cost-
effects and efficiency.
Yeah.
We have to figure out. I think we can figure out a way to create an item that stays exactly with the cat that can tell the mood of it. And I would suggest the continued possible usage of a collar going that direction. But the Sparkle Kitty itself is different and it has the gem that shows that effect. That's my
Yeah.
So we're doing the collar, right?
yes.
Okay.
So then, is the collar visible to the player at a majority of the time?
I do worry about the smelly cat because that was the one suggested and everything. So we
So-
might have to go back
well,
and look at the.
We are also
Sorry.
going to. Sorry, I'm interrupting because we discussed that, but I
Yeah.
think it was before he got here. We are also going to do the particle effect when something good or bad happens. So
Yeah,
it's-
it would last maybe 2-3 seconds and then fade away.
Oh, okay, cool.
So
All
it,
right.
it reinforces that. So you'll know it'll be consistent. All the cat's collars will change color. They'll have mood collars, which actually is really cool now that I think about it. So they'll have mood collars, and they'll also be the interactions will be reinforced with the particle effects.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's something I'll visualize too for you guys. Like,
Yeah.
depending on the particle effect, like if it was red, it might be, I don't know, somehow different shaped, and
If it's
maybe
going
it would
down,
sort of rotate around the top of the head.
maybe it should be negatives, like little minus signs, if in the color that the mood is when it's going down, because they might be, in a really good mood, but you might have done something negative. So maybe negative signs for the particle effect, and then
Could you
positive
do something?
when you're doing positive things. So that way, if you're orange and you're moving to yellow, you don't think you're going down if it's a plus sign. Does that make sense?
Or
Yeah.
could you do something with blend shapes, like have like a, I don't know, something that's very spherical or organic in shape, and then as it that being good, or like vacks of love and happiness, but then as it progresses to get to red, the shape becomes more pointy and jagged.
That's what I was
And, like-
thinking for the particle effect. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is that you might be already red, and you're moving up, so it can't depend on the mood. That's why I was like, if you're doing something positive, you want to make sure to let them know they're doing something positive.
Yeah.
And
Well,
not
the
further
mood
pissing
would
off
be
the
the
cat.
color.
No, because if you're going up, okay, say that I've got the cat at orange, but I
Okay.
don't remember that the cat's at orange because I'm not looking at the collar. It's the smelly cat. So I don't know that the cat
Alright.
is at orange. And I do something and it's good and it's yellow. I might have thought I was at green and that the yellow is bad. So I'll assume that what I just did was negative.
Right.
Be-
What are
because
other
if
symbols?
the actual
then?
well, what's positive and negative? Because
Other symbols for positive and negative.
you can do hearts for positive, and like I don't.
Heartbreaking for negative.
Sad face, happy. Sad face, happy face.
That's a little too.
I mean, it's a particle effect. You're not going to be able to see a whole lot, so you want it to be something that's easily identifiable.
Like the happy free Chinese face might be from afar.
Okay. So,
It could just be an up arrow, like a green animation of an up arrow, and then a red animation of a down arrow.
that works.
Yeah, but it doesn't
that'll
reinforce
work.
the mood color.
Yeah, it does.
How?
Red,
Yeah.
bad, green, good.
No, green is
Yeah.
neutral.
I guess.
Oh.
It's better than red.
So
It could
be
red is
black.
red is bad, and
You could
purple
show
is.
purple arrow.
Oh yeah,
Purple
maybe
arrow
you
for
show
Red arrow for bad.
yeah, or the next arrow level, or not arrow, mood level. Like if it's
Whoa.
an arrow and then whatever it's at and you're going up, then if you're at yellow, then the arrow becomes green. And then if at blue and I'm doing something that's good, the arrow then becomes purple
That doesn't
to
really.
signify that I'm going up.
I feel like it doesn't really help what Shiloh is saying. It's still used because it's still using that same color scale. Like if you don't understand the color scale yet, then you don't. It doesn't help.
So, if you want to reinforce the mood, like then you would want the particle effect color to match the mood that they're moving to, but you want the particle to be. I think he is actually talking about what I was saying, Shay. Like up arrow for better, down arrow for worse.
Yeah, yeah,
It could
But
just be white.
but in the
It doesn't need to be a color.
in the
that
current
too.
in the current mood, you don't have to reinforce the color, but you do have to make the collar very visible then, so that
Yeah,
you know. So that's something to probably test later on, but it's something to keep in the back of our minds. Like at some point, we're gonna have to test. Like, do we need a color on the reaction particle effect, or don't we? So we don't have to make up our minds right now. We can test it later.
yeah. We'll definitely have to also do a lot of play testing. Other people to get in and make sure that they still understand too.
Yeah.
Because it might be something where we may have to limit how much of the color spectrum we use if it's getting too complicated.
There are 7 colors, and you were late for this part of the conversation too. I
7
think.
distinct colors.
Oh.
Not use like a
Cool.
gradient of colors.
I can't hear you, Shay.
Like 7 distinct colors, and not really like a gradient that you.
Right.
Oh,
Yeah, there's 7
okay.
distinct colors.
Gotcha.
The design doc does have a gradient in it. But
Yeah, and Zach just posted after the conversation isolated colors. It's in the discussion on
Yeah.
Discord.
Okay.
He's gonna change
Never
that.
mind then.
Yeah. He's gonna change
Yeah.
that here in a little bit. So we made progress.
Yeah.
We agree with you.
All right. Cool.
All right. So I think those are the things.
Since, yeah.
And
What's next?
let's see.
This meeting was supposed to be 90 minutes long. That's right now 8 minutes before it's supposed to be ending. So
Okay.
up to y'all though.
So let's kind of like, since we've just got a little bit of time left, isolate what we talked about. So I think we're thinking along the lines, and correct me if I'm wrong, of a tier branching system.
Yes.
So we can start to create a we didn't get to create a system around that. Maybe Tuesday we can sit down and talk about it at the meeting.
Yeah.
I think
'Cause that's gonna
everybody.
need a lot of visuals and paper and charts like that.
Yeah, we can sit down and sort of go over this a little bit more on Tuesday. But in the meantime, if you guys, want to brainstorm about this further, take notes and bring them to the meeting and we can talk about it.
Yeah. Sorry. I'm walking around a lot right now. 'Cause I stepped on a rusty nail just about 5 minutes ago.
Why did you
Yeah.
step on a nail?
I didn't. It was in the carpet.
Have you had
Carpets
your
don't have nails.
This one.
Just kidding.
So yeah, I'm sorry. I can't listen that much and whatnot, but
It's okay. We're about done. We're just going to get together on Tuesday. If you brainstorm more, write it down. Is that cool with everybody?
We do need to
Oh.
talk about replacing the map system though and the mailbox. It's not a focus for this week, but probably next week we need to start getting the mailbox in and testing,
oh yeah,
getting
So,
items to the mailbox system.
yeah. Because since the message is gone, we now have to create the system. For,
right. Well, that's what this
collecting
is for.
materials.
What we're doing right
Yeah.
now is for that. It's
I
all
feel
working
like-
together. So I think once we start getting this narrowed, once we narrow down the interaction and what it does, we can start to say, okay, now this is the crafting items. Because the mailbox is for the crafting items. So it's getting more into kind of what we're talking about with goal 2 and 3, right?
Yeah.
And I think that'll work into the system once we really start narrowing this down. But I think that talking in person is going to be a little more helpful.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we did some good work here. I'll post this video on I'll post it on YouTube and post
Where's
the link
this doc,
on
Sharla? that you
Huh?
made? What's this doc you're editing just now?
Brainstorm session. I'll post it in I'll post it somewhere.
Okay.
I'll move it into the design docs or something. Let's see.
Cool.
Yeah, I'll
Yeah,
I'll
cool.
post it under design. It's called today's date brainstorm session, and yeah, if you wanna write anything in it with the suggestion mode, we could talk about it on Tuesday. It's kind of a mess, but it's a brainstorm session, so hey.
Exactly. Um, I I did bad. Okay, hold on. But yeah, it's fine. Okay, cool. Um,
Goofy. Go take care of your foot. All right, guys. I think we did
all right.
good.
Yeah, we did good.
Yes, progress was made.
Progress
Progress
is
definitely
made.
made.
Yay. And
So,
so feedback. Brainstorm session after the meeting a good thing?
yes,
I
because
think
then
so.
Okay.
yeah, because then we don't have to worry about like continued um. So we don't have to. So what happens is that we can lose focus very quickly in our meetings about the project what we're working on for that week, and so oh buddy, so it can be helpful to do this afterwards.
Yeah, I think also it helps. Should it come to a point where any of us have to leave early, we can
Yeah.
still be caught up with the meeting part and then catch up later on the brainstorming as that's not defined yet.
Yeah. Okay. Groovy. I hope this works.
Sweet.
All right.
Leo, are you okay?
Huh?
Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. So yeah, I did step on the nail. Then Alfie decided to try to, start clawing up my leg a little bit. So I was like, okay,
Welcome to cat ownership.
Yeah.
All right. Well, y'all have a good weekend. I'll see you Tuesday.
All right, catch you then.
All right. Bye.
All right, see ya.
Bye.
See you later.
Adios. Tuesday.
Tasty.